I was recently messaged by someone who's going to be interviewed for a learning and culture role, even though they have no previous experience of culture. But they shared with me they have lots of transferable skills from the other roles they've held, and they wondered how can they show that they're going to be capable of this culture role? What can I do to tackle it? So in this video, I'm going to be sharing my advice to any of you wanting to step into culture roles with no previous experience. Because as a company culture coach with 7 years of experience, I want to share with you some of the best ways you can show in an interview how you want to step into the world of culture. My first piece of advice is kind of an obvious one. Make sure that any of your previous experiences, skills, or qualifications can be made relevant to the role. And really make sure that you can put this into context before you go into the interview. You don't want to be stumbling over your experiences and trying to tie things together. Really think about how the role that you're going for also links back to so many other of your experiences, your qualifications, or any other context that you can put it in. You really want to be able to demonstrate in a very clear way that the skills you have, regardless of the cultural qualifications you may or may not hold, are going to be relevant to this role. My second piece of advice is to make sure that you can really talk about why you're passionate about culture. How did you discover your passion for culture? What led you here? Because as much as we can put a huge amount of weight on experiences and qualifications and skills, we also want to really understand that desire, that passion. Because when you have that, you're also more likely to really dedicate yourself to the work and also put in that extra effort, especially if you don't have that previous experience or qualifications. So make sure that you can really talk about your why. Why do you love culture? Why do you want to work in this area? And what is it that you'll hope to achieve? It might feel really uncomfortable going to be interviewed for a job that you have little to no experience or qualifications within. I can only imagine the imposter syndrome that you will probably be feeling. But I want you to honor this space of vulnerability and instead use it as your strength. Go in there with a very clear learning and development plan for yourself. And it needs to be well thought out and something that you are actively going to pursue. So share with them, hey, I may not have any qualifications or much experience right now, but this is where I'm going. This is the plan that I've made myself. Because that will show not only your determination, but also that you are truly dedicated to this area and getting better. And you never know, they might even be open to supporting you in financing some of those learning and development options as well. Whether you're being interviewed or you're simply looking to move into the world of culture, this piece of advice is something that I say to everybody that asks me, how do I get into culture? And the first place is always communities. Connect into communities where you can join webinars and different community events so that you get to not only network with people who are in the area of culture, but that way you build your confidence in not only speaking about culture, but also learning from others, having that peer-to-peer feedback. I've been so fortunate to be within communities that I learn from people all of the time, and it really helped me in my early years. The added benefit of being part of these communities is that you can talk about them during your interview and during your applications. Being able to express that you are that passionate and that dedicated to this topic, that you are pursuing it in lots of different areas and you are putting yourself out there to learn, to grow, and to network with like-minded people. So it works in so many positive ways. If you're looking for communities to join, I did a podcast episode with Perry Timms purely dedicated on communities. So I've linked that in the descriptions below. My fifth and final piece of advice is to make sure that you are making use of the Q&A, the part in the interview where you really get to shine and get to ask your questions, present some ideas. So ask them questions like, what has their approach been to culture in the past? And do they have an idea for where they want it to go in the future? What's happened in the culture recently that has made some significant impacts or shifts? And also, this is the moment where you get to shine and present some of your own ideas so that regardless of the lack of experience or qualifications, you can show them what you would do differently. And it's great because sometimes we can be so ingrained in the culture, we can't really see what needs changing. So having that third party perspective and a fresh perspective that isn't completely entrenched in traditional cultural ways of thinking can really help them to see new ideas and give you the upper hand that actually someone coming in with some fresh ideas with a new take on culture might just be what they need. What we have to remember is that culture is not exclusive to HR. I cannot tell you how frustrated I get that culture is still bundled with HR. I will create another video about this because I could really get on my soapbox about this. But essentially, you do not need HR qualifications to work in culture. In fact, I'm going to do a whole video on people that I know, like myself, who have no HR qualifications, who are very prominent in the culture arena. So I'm just going to put that out there. So don't be put off for applying for culture roles, even if you don't have any HR qualifications, because this is what I see so often. Put yourself out there. We need so many more people working in culture to make work better. So good luck on your journey. And if you have any other questions, please pop them in the comments below.